Assalamu alaikum viewers, again with another special program. And today our guest is Professor Dr. Shazia Cheema. And Shazia Cheema is academia. More will ask from Shazia where she has done her early education, higher education, and what is she doing nowadays. And then we'll come to our topic. Today's very interesting topic. You listen, especially from ISPR on daily basis, fifth generation warfare. Madam, welcome to our show. I would like to know that where you had your education and then further, where are you teaching nowadays?
Thank you, Atiq, for having me and giving me this platform to talk. It's a very, very good and informative platform, and you young people are doing very good job for that. My early education is from Dera Ghazi Khan. My father was a government officer, and his service was mostly with the rural planning. So we mostly lived in South Punjab. So I born and brought up in Dera Ghazi Khan. So I did my intermediate from there. Then I did my bachelor from Gulberg College, a master's from Kinnaid, and then I did my MPhil from Denmark. And I'm doing my PhD. Thanks for calling me a doctor, but I'm about to be a doctor. I'm not a doctor yet. So I'm doing my PhD from Charles University, Prague. Um, and basically, my subject is linguistics. I did masters in linguistics from Kinnaid. Uh, but later on, I was interested in more of like language and brain functions together, how we express our meanings and how we understand meanings. So I find a program, a very informative, very interesting program in Aarhus University, Denmark, cognitive semiotics. So basically, semiotic is how we understand and create meaning as a human being. And cognition is the study of that process, like brain functions, higher order cognitive functions, how we understand them. So I find myself very lucky to find this program. So I did my MPhil in cognitive semiotics, and that actually broadened my horizon and expand my view to see things, because now my subject was not just language and linguistic, music, film, theater, even gestures, everything which can convince something to our brain, and our brain is capable of understanding that thing, is semiotic. So now I'm doing PhD in semiotic and philosophy of communication. And that this fifth generation war is all about semiotic and cognition, changing perception and all that. So thank you again for having me here. Uh, I would try my level best to, especially to the youngsters, to help them to understand what actually this catchphrase is, which is coming in our way like day in and day out, and we have no idea actually, especially our youth, what actually we are talking about.
That's great, and you are more than welcome. And definitely, you are one of the best entry we have, among our different scholars joining us on daily basis. And I'm sure that we'll be definitely learning from your experiences in coming programs too. Professor Shazia, let's start with what is actually this fifth generation warfare. See, the term is quite big one, heavy one. So many times, people take it not of interest, and many people take it that it is something, militarily kind of thing that, I would like to know from you actually that what really it is.
Yes, Atiq, we have at least four generations of war. So basically, that fifth generation term comes from that generations of war. So first generation is that column and line war, when both the enemies, they stand face each other and then they fight like hand in hand. That was the first generation. Then came the second generation. Then came the third generation. And our generation and your generation, we have seen, like we have experienced and heard about fourth generation, which is like maneuvering and all that, and using the weapons, and new technology in weaponry and all that. So this fifth generation is a combination of fourth and fifth generation warfare. So that's why it is also called hybrid war as well. War cannot be done without weapon, like guns and tanks and all these things, these ugly things. Fifth generation has included another tool in this warfare, and that is meaning making tools. So meanings and perception was never a part of the warfare, the formal warfare before that. Propaganda was always somehow included in even in ancient wars, but not in that extent which we are using right now. So fifth generation war is basically changing the perception and manipulation and creating new meanings, whatever you want, for the broader audience. So it is a supplementary tool for an ongoing war, like a fourth generation war. But in combination, they can fight hand in hand, and that's what fifth generation war is. But basically, it is all about generations of war. So now we are facing this fifth generation of war instead of getting rid of war itself.
Very true, very true. And somehow, I think sometime it's a big question as well. A lot of people do not talk about it, not the part of right now our topic, but I think about it that somehow we see that those countries we call the developed countries, we call the grown up countries, we call civilized countries, they are somehow, giving us a kind of image that war is need, especially when you see United States of America. You watch their movies, you watch their video games, you feel like yourself to be you have to, otherwise you cannot survive. So this is
Yes.
how my question to you is, uh, Professor Shazia, that how do you differentiate fifth generation warfare from the traditional warfare?
Fifth generation warfare has no defined boundaries, no prescribed or described visible stakeholders. Fifth generation war has expanded the warfare on very grassroots level. It's very difficult to understand who is fighting whom, basically, because before war is a very visible thing. I'm saying it again, like visible meaning you can see who is fighting whom. But in fifth generation it's very it is nearly impossible to understand who is fighting whom, and that's we are experiencing day by day on our social media as well. We see things which are not supposed to be on the social media, especially in Pakistan, but they are there. So it's very difficult to pinpoint who actual source could be for that thing. So it is a very dark maze in which you cannot find who is doing what. So that's the main difference between a visible war and a fifth generation war. So for that matter, one has to be very, like, the armies has to be, the military forces has to be very competent in that matter. Despite of, like, they have to be competent in actual warfare, like war, fourth generation warfare. They have to be very competent in fifth generation warfare, because now expressions, pictures, images, words, they have power to alter your cognitive system.
You have pressed by mistake your mic. It is on mute. Just please unmute it. That's it. Please continue.
That's what I'm saying, that we have to be very careful about this fifth generation warfare, and we have to take it very seriously.
Right. Shazia, can we say that this fifth generation warfare is more we can say, related with our mind, because it changes every minute, it changes every day. So more is, we can call it, it's the mind war. It is the war through mind, where use of mind is more than the weapons, traditional weapons.
Yes, you are totally right. It is a mind war. Fifth generation war's definition is changing the perception of your target population. So if you are capable of doing that, because it's not easy, you need a certain level of expertise. You need to know the cognitive sciences. You need to know other. You need to know semiotic of that cultural, social semiotic of that society, political scenario of that society. And if you are capable of doing that, you can actually. Uh, that's also called strafing in military terms. When you send the front group of troops, like the minimum group of troops, to make maximum damage into your target area. For example, before sending the infantry, sending the aviation, or bombing that place, to by using minimum resources and doing maximum damage, and after that you can send your actual infantry, your military forces, troops, to fight there, because the target area is already weak enough. That's what fifth generation war is doing. It's actually strafing in military terms. It's actually weakening the target population by changing the perception, by giving the idea that you already lost this war or this front. So to make their job easy. So in that matter, we have to be very careful how our mind is being played off. At least we should be aware of that fact, that this is not just social media, this is not just posts, these are not just memes, mimes, songs, caricatures. They are actually games, and big minds are working on that. These are not just some youngster or a kid drawing some cartoons or something. For example, it is a very big game, and big big boys are doing that. I mean, you can say that it's a combat. We have to take care of it.
Very true, very true. And may we just say that a term is used, an old term is used in the war, called propaganda. So it is somehow a new form, a new way of propaganda, where we can take the example that people of your own country, people who stand with you, who sit with you, they are being given a narrative, a self made narrative, and they start believing that this narrative is the right one. As, like, the last 10 years, we had a fight against unknown enemy in Pakistan. We did not know that, who are our enemies, who are the terrorists, and it was really the hardest one, because once you know your enemies, it's very easy to, or you can say, you can show your courage, you can show your powers, and you can just overcome that all. But you don't know that the people sitting next to you is having what kind of mindset. So the word I'm using, mindset. So number one, it is a modern tool used for propaganda. And secondly, is it to just control the mindset, just make the narratives?
All right. Let me explain the term propaganda first. Uh, Propagation is everything is propagation. You can either propagate it positively or negatively. So propaganda itself is not a bad thing. Every art form is a propaganda. Every narrative, every literature, it's propagating something. So the point is, what is being propagated? If you mean that negative propaganda against the target audience, yes, it's a very old tool. But now, countries and their military forces, they have their entire separate wings for that propaganda. and every military force has, like, they are out in open. And they have also changed the term for that. Now we do not use the word propaganda for that. We do not propagating anything. Basically, we are defending our narrative. We are defending our nation or our country, whatever the slogan is. So yes, propaganda is a very old thing, and yes, this propaganda is doing in a very systematic way now. But no, we do not call it propaganda. It is a mindset, change of mindset. So that's the bigger issue, how you can change the mindset. Because if you change the mindset of the people, if you change the perception, you achieve whatever you can achieve. We can take the example of the Cold War, and even the post Cold War, the war between Russia and America. And if we want to understand the word mindset and perception and negative propaganda, these two subjects are worth research, and how they are doing this mind game against each other. And now they are, they are giants in propaganda, in changing perceptions and all that. So they are fighting on this front from for years now. If we see CNN, for example, I'm taking names, and RT, we can understand how this thing is, how this game is being played. So this is a very scary thing. This is a very scary thing for a country like Pakistan, where we our acceptance is very much high. We do not think about things before accepting them. We are a happy nation. At that matter, we are friendly people. So we don't know who is knocking at our door and who is actually sending this post, and why we are liking it and why we are copy pasting it. And what actual the meaning is it like the momentarily pleasure which I am getting by laughing and all that, or it has deep down meaning, and by copy pasting and by liking and by sharing, I'm actually becoming part of that war. Side by side, I'm also becoming victim of that war. So these are very complicated things, but this is the time, Atiq, we have to know. We have to tell our youth how to behave wisely. And active, conscious effort is very important.
Very true, very true. Professor Shazia Cheema, I completely agree with you what you talked about the channels many years back, even a decade back. I watched a movie that how the media is used to change the perceptions. And now it is very common through this fifth generation warfare. We see that how it is being used. And even I wouldn't name the channels we are having in Pakistan, but some of the channels, when you watch them,
Yes.
you very easily understand that they are being dollared. It might be a new word. You are a linguistic person. I am not, you know, that they are being given a lot of dollars. So it's a new word, verb used today, dollared. So they are giving that much money that whatever they speak, it seems to be that, oh my God, they are really speaking, truth that, the disasters are going to start. Pakistan is going to see the day of doom. The day of judgment is ahead. Such kind of pessimism is shown even against our national institutions and all. And this is everywhere. And the same way, we see another channel which is really speaking, you can may say that neutrally. So you come across that, yes, definitely the problems are there, but doesn't mean that everything is going to destroy tomorrow. So the role of this fifth generation by using this media, I feel that is the strongest one, where the people they watch. And even a few interviews I did in the previous week with the clinical psychologist, I came to know that this media is producing more and more depressive people, because again and again same kind of news, bad news with the bad message are repeated. So the people they are keep watching, keep listening. For example, 15 people killed. Now again and again that thing is hitting their brain. Oh, flood came. right? The rainy water gathered. Now, all the bad things when gathered, so definitely you get depressed with that. So, now my again, this question to you is that how do you see the role of media in this fifth generation warfare?
There is no question. Media is the most important pillar in that fifth generation warfare, and it must work alongside the forces of that country, armed forces of that country. You mentioned that some channels, they propagate things and you catch them doing that. If you are being caught by propagation, doing that propaganda, it means that you are not good propagator. So our problem is that our media, especially on our famous channel, we have people from 7 till 9, 11. We have most important people, and they are considered to be the most wise and voiced opinions. If you happen to check the background and their educational experience, their research background, you will come to that bitter reality that they don't have anything. They are neither linguists, they are not the mass media graduates, they are not psychologists, they are not experts even for public speaking. They are just faces, and you never know how they come to that point that they are now influencing the entire nation with their ignorance. Plus they are being funded for that. So this trend has to be changed. New people like you, Atiq, should be inducted in the media, and they should, I mean, there should be some research base, some academic discussions done by academic people, so the audience can understand what actually going on. The pattern of our talk shows, our current affairs shows, are worse than this get together on the corner of the street in front of a small shop. So that decline of morality and that decline of subjectivity is very scary, and it's very humiliating as well. When you see as a nation that what are we doing and what are our spokesperson, are they our spokesperson, are they talking for us, are they discussing our problems, who are they actually? And I don't want to take names, but you just give me the biggest name, or like in the row of those 10, 11 names. They don't have any research or academic background, they don't know what they are saying, they don't have any idea. So either you just fund them to say whatever and you want them to say, and after that they will propagate it in such a bizarre and foolish way that even a common person will detect that the thing is being propagation is being done. So if propagation can be caught, it means that you do not have experts to do that. It should be like Hollywood movies, mainstream movies, where propagation is being done, and after like
Sure.
watching even it, paying ticket for that, you don't know that what is being propagated, and you just take it in your mind, and you just keep on thinking that America is the savior of the world, and for centuries, like for years, at least for decades, we keep on thinking that America is the savior of for the humanity. So until that Corona came and people started, so in Hollywood movies, America saved the world whenever an epidemic or any havoc came upon the universe. So now where is America? Why he's not saving us from the Corona? So this is the fact. Media has a very important role, very responsible role, but our media is not playing that role because our media is not yet capable of doing that. That's why they are propagating different domains, different ideas, but even then they are failed in that. They are not doing that even properly.
Very true, very true. You're right. Miss Shazia Cheema, see, like we are discussing about the fifth generation tools, that media is one of the tool of fifth generation warfare. Then secondly, I see that, there are some people, they are being well prepared. As you said, the mindset, I see some of the kids going for the exchange programs for 6 months. After 6 months, when you sit down with them, even they are not mature enough, but you, what you listen, you come to the conclusion that they are being, given such kind of doses, such kind of, the streams, that they have started feeling that the country they belong to is completely the collapsed one. Everything is just zero, everything is wrong. And rather than thinking that, how to make the things better, how to do the things better, mostly we listen the negativity. This is, I to my personal observation, that these kids, these kind of youngsters, teenagers, they are also being used as the tool of this fifth generation warfare. Apart from that, I would like to know from you that what other tools are used in this fifth generation warfare.
All meaning making tools, all the tools who create meaning, who convey meaning, from whom a human brain can understand meaning, can be a tool for the warfare. You know the song which was sung by which was made by ISPR few days ago, and what type of discussion it has triggered. That's also the naivety of our people, that they think that it's not the duty of army to sing a song. How you can win a country by just singing a song and all that. So we should know that all meaning making tools are source of changing perception of mankind, and all these could be the tool for a military force, and they can use it, and they have to use it. There is no way out from it. So your question was that what other tools we can use. We can use film, we can use theater, we can use photography, we can use painting, we can use, and as a South Asia, as Pakistan, we are very rich in different mediums of creating meaning. So they all can be used, and they must be used. Why we have so much negativity against our land and against our institutions? Because we are constantly being fed with the idea. So if these idea is poking us again and again, especially for the youth, in because they are very vulnerable in that stage, so they will absorb all the information which is being fed to them repeatedly. So we have some counter strategies for that. It doesn't mean that we have another thing, Atiq. I have noticed that it is considered that being confused is a bad thing. We have to tell our youth that being confused is not a bad thing. There is no black and white. You can say a good thing about a thing A, and you can say a bad thing about that particular thing A. So there is no harm in that. You don't have to choose sides. You don't have to be 100% clear that where you stand. And if you have said so and so thing, and if you have a firm opinion about a certain institution and a certain group of people, then you cannot change it, and you starting generalizing that opinion. So we have to tell our youth that please do not generalize your perception and opinion. Feel free, and try to be brave enough to say at a certain point I like Atiq Raja, and at a certain point I do not like Atiq Raja. So there is no harm in that. It's not bad being confused. So we are in a mindset, okay, I belong to this sect, and I'm not supposed to say that to my particular that sect. I belong to this ethnicity, and I will generalize this. I have heard few people are saying something about this institution. So I have said this once, so I'm going to say this twice as well. So in that way, we ignore the good things as well, because we all have good and bad things. So we have to be very flexible in that. I hope you understand my point, what
Oh
I'm trying
yes,
to
oh
say.
yes, oh yes. I am sure what you want to say. Professor Shazia Cheema is with us. She's educationist as well as she's speaking, talking about at different platforms. Today she's with us on the fifth generation warfare topic. Shazia, we need more programs on the same topic and same kind of topic because there are a lot of things where we see that the countering is not possible through a single program because this is something when we use the word war, so the war is fought from different borders, it is fought from different ways, and where it is fought through the minds, there we cannot just counter through the one episode or through one talk. We need to just come with more and more where youth needs to understand that there are a few group of people who have I sometimes call that it is just like where we call the extremist kind of minds as well as the static minds. They are there where they are very solid at their point of view and they want to convert everyone around, whether we know that it is completely negative. Some of the people who are working closely, they do observe closely, they do try to ask them as well the question and they don't feel satisfied. But on the other hand side, as you said, we are a happy nation, and on the other, I would like to go in the depth of happiness that we do not care actually. Sometimes we are many careless actually, that whatever people say we say, oh fine, fine, yes, this can be like this. As you just talked about the song released by ISPR, so there is a lot of criticism, useless criticism, where it is not being understood that it is part of fifth generation warfare. It is need of the time, and it can be taken definitely as a war tool, and it has to be used. And if an army of 21st century does not use it, it means it would stay quite behind the others, and it may lose a lot of strength it needs for the traditional war. Ms. Shazia Cheema, we will conclude. We are short of time here with your remarks for the youth of Pakistan, especially that how they should be well aware of this fifth generation warfare effects and how they can try to assess, try to see that how it needs to be countered.
Um, if you see something on social media which you find not conclusive, not referenced, and it is uh, straight away against against your nation, against the sovereignty of your country, against Pakistan, against being Pakistani, do not react to it. The least you can do not react to it, not like it, not dislike it, not share it, not copy paste it. So just do not react to it. At that point you are just stopping that stream of information. If you react to it, then this string will not stop, it will continue and it will reach to another person and it will reach to another person. The second thing is that we must have some sort of ownership in that matter. It's good to be humanitarian, it's good to be being unipolar, but keep in mind that the countries, the nations, the philosophers who are giving these ideas to us, they are not actually implementing these ideas to on their countries. They are not talking about sovereignties of their country. They are not talking about anything against their country's institutions, but they are making you flexible enough to talk about these things. So when the point came, and you have to give your opinion. Be critical. Do not say anything about Pakistan. Do not listen anything about Pakistan, and that's your survival. Is that will be your coping mechanism. Otherwise, your brain will get stuck, and you will get confused that okay, being a humanitarian, war is a bad thing, so now we are talking about war, so what should we do? So being a human being, war is an ugly thing, there is no question about that. But being a Pakistani, if it is being imposed on us, fighting back is our right, and saying it out loud is even more important. So I will just advise two things, that avoid this criticism at this point, because you cannot identify, you cannot understand the linguistic and all that, or may not counter attack. So avoid it. And if you are confronted directly, so then take your stance and show that you are Pakistani, because without Pakistan we cannot exist, and that's the reality of the time. So we have to, I mean, without a home you cannot exist. So defending your home is not a bad thing.
Very true, very true. And I'm very thankful to Professor Shazia Cheema. You really spoke what is the need of the time. And this our session went in English for all our English listeners. Another one we'll have very soon again on the fifth generation warfare, as well as on the more topics in Urdu as well. So more viewers can be watching and asking us the questions as well. Thank you very much to you again, to everyone. 14th August is ahead. So I greet you in advance. Definitely the 14th August programs, we are having very, very heavy schedule. We are having 10 full-time interviews starting 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. So let me check it out, that where we can add up Miss Shazia Cheema as well. And thank you very much to you again. Pakistan, Zindabad.
Thank you.
Please stay with me.